Okay, so today we're going to be talking about changes to the environment, and we're going to learn about two ways that the environment can be changed. It can be changed through natural changes, or it can be changed by humans. And instead of doing an activity page today during the read aloud, you are going to answer some questions on Nearpod, so just feel free to listen during this video. Please listen so that you know which questions to answer. And after we're done with the read aloud, you're going to have a chapter to read and some questions to answer that will be graded today. Okay, so let's get started. I'm reading from chapter 5 in your reader. Ecosystems can be fragile. It doesn't take much to cause big changes in the environment. Sometimes the ecosystem can recover from a change. Sometimes the change is forever. Erosion is one common force of nature. Over time, the land on either side of a stream can erode. When it rains really hard, a little stream can fill with water and flood. A flood may last for an hour. It may last for a few days. The plants on a hillside have roots that reach deep into the soil. The roots hold the soil together. When it rains, or when the wind blows really hard, the plant roots hold the soil in place. Without plants, the soil starts to erode. Water is one of nature's most powerful forces. During a big flood, the entire landscape can be changed. A flooded river can tear apart plants, trees, and soil. First, the topsoil is removed. This is the richest soil, where you find most of the nutrients in decaying matter. Once the topsoil is washed away, the forces of nature slowly eat away at the clay and rock underneath. This is from Petrified Forest National Park in Arizona. Throughout the park, there are ancient trees that have turned to stone. The trees have been petrified. These may look like normal rocks, but they're not. There was a forest ecosystem here about 200 million years ago, when some of the first dinosaurs roamed the earth. These rocks are actually pieces of prehistoric trees. Back then, there were producers, consumers, and decomposers too. Fossils found in the petrified forest showed that there were swamp plants, like ferns. There were also dinosaurs that looked sort of like crocodiles. At some point, the area was flooded by huge amounts of water and mud. The trees were covered. The entire forest was destroyed, along with the food chain. All that mud covering the trees dried. Over millions of years, the mud turned to rock. Instead of rotting, the trees turned to rock too. Millions of years and countless floods later, the land in Petrified Forest National Park has eroded. We are left with this strange landscape. It is still called a forest, but many of the trees are really rocks. The land is almost like a desert. However, the Petrified Forest does get some rain. There is actually a lot happening in this ecosystem, even though it looks like a dry, sandy place. There are 500 different species of plants in Petrified Forest National Park. There are no dinosaurs, but there are little lizards. There are also toads, snakes, birds, and jackrabbits. Coyotes are near the top of the food chain. They eat just about anything, meat and plant alike. The Petrified Forest is interesting because it shows how nature's forces can change the landscape. When the land changes, the ecology changes. There were once forests and swamps here. Now it is a rocky desert. The hills have eroded. Much of the rich soil has been washed away, leaving mostly sand and rocks. But it is still an ecosystem. Through all the changes, there has always been life here. Living things find a way to adapt and survive. Okay, so that's the end of our read aloud. You'll notice that what we talked about was really similar to what we learned in science only a couple weeks ago when we talked about weathering and erosion. So some of this should be review for you. So you're going to answer the questions now on Nearpod. Don't forget to press the blue submit button. And then afterwards, please read chapter 6 about human changes to the environment and answer activity page 6.1. You're going to have to answer these true or false questions before reading the chapter and then answer this after reading. Then there's a back page with some other questions. Okay? Good luck.